As we mentioned in our last segment, the high school baseball season gets underway on Tuesday. And then, by the way, I should mention, too, and it was announced earlier today that doubleheader on Saturday against Franklin County is now a 10 and a noon, not a noon and a 2.
Yes, it will be a 10 and noon.
Okay. All right, Coach, it all starts with pitching. You mentioned already in the last segment you have 4 pretty good arms to go with, and I'm excited to see the progress of these guys, and it looks like to me the way that you have worked with them over the offseason, a lot of colleges are interested in these guys as well. Talk about the pitching.
You know, they're a good group of guys that really, really work hard, and we have a staff of about 7, 4 main contributors, and then 3 guys that we feel are going to help the program maybe at times this year, if not next year. Okay. But you know, I have a great staff and a great pitching coach with Patrick Flanagan, and he has really worked his tail off with these guys in the offseason and really tried to hone in on some mechanical things and really teach them how to become pitchers.
Yeah.
Throw 3 and 4 pitches for strikes, you know, attack hitters. And all along the way, he's got a great program that he works with these guys, and they've gained a lot of velocity. They're spinning pitches better, their off speed's better. And you know, it really just I contribute everything to the hard work that these guys have put in the off season of really wanting to get better. You know, and with Kyler Helms getting the attention that he got, I think it inspired and sparked guys. Hey, I need to work hard too. Maybe I can do that. And some guys have showed a lot of progress, which in turn has got them looks.
You bet. Now, you mentioned with Coach Flanagan, and you have a chance to work with him during the summer. That's got to be a great benefit for high school kids to work with a coach of his caliber.
Yeah, the guys really, really listen to what he has to say. And you know, he is phenomenal in the aspect that he doesn't coach each one of our guys the same. And that's kind of our coaching motto, philosophy, that not every kid is the same. We treat them individually, yet as a team. And what he's done is taken what these guys do well and just hone those things and let it work for them so they're never out of their comfort zone. But they, you know, they like what he says. They take it all in. They work at it, and they've gotten better.
Is this the strength of your team, this pitching staff?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The strength of our team is obviously starts with the guy on the bump. I say that with any good club. If you have good pitching, I mean, you look at the World Series last year, the pitching and the bullpen, and you know that's what it all comes down to. And those guys control the game. But ultimately, you got to make plays behind them, and we feel confident in a lot of returners with our defense that we're going to be able to do that.
You have a lot of good bats back from last year, too. Talk about that nucleus.
We do, yet we are a very different lineup this year. I think we're a lineup that's going to be scrappy, that's going to put the ball in play. We're going to try to put pressures on defense in bunt situations. We're going to try to take extra bags when we can. We're going to steal bases. And we're going to get thrown out along the way. And that's all part of it. But I think we're a team that we've talked about. If we can try and win each inning, score a run each inning, and give ourselves a chance to score 5-6 runs a game, we're going to compete to win that ball game.
I like teams, I think you do too, that go out there and put the pressure on the other team. Why let that pitcher stand out there and basically have an easy time? Make him think about the hitter and the guy on base.
Yeah, I think in a lot of high school, you can put a lot of pressures on teams, defenses, and their pitchers to make plays. And sometimes they fold. The good teams will execute and make plays, and sometimes you can catch a break and get a mistake and score a run when you're not supposed to.
Yeah. All right, talk about we know a little bit about the pitching, and you mentioned Kyler Helms. What about from the hitting standpoint? Is there 1 or 2 guys out there that we should really look at that lineup and say those guys are going to be solid this year?
Yeah, we do. We have a very good, what I would consider power alley section of our lineup. Our 3, 4, 5, 6, even not really big time power guys, but they're gap guys.
Okay.
And they're guys that are going to put the ball in play. They don't strike out. They're going to score RBIs. And that our 3-hole with Tanner Marlowe, who was very, very consistent even as a freshman and has continued to get better, was big for us last year. Chandler Whalen's going to move into the middle of the lineup. And he was a kid that, he hit 350, 370 last year for us. in the 9-hole and was a very, very consistent hitter, and that's why I never moved him.
Right.
He's a much better hitter than what you would think of as a 9-hole. He's not your prototypical 9-hole. That's just where we liked him last year.
Right.
This year, I've asked him to step into the 4-hole and not be a home run guy, not be a power guy, but be a line drive RBI guy.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think he's got the potential to do that as long as he buys into the fact I'm not up here to hit home runs. I'm going to score guys.
Yeah.
And then with our 5 and 6, with Christian and Helms, those guys do have the power to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Are they going to do it a lot? Probably not.
Yeah.
But they are going to put the ball in, play hard, and they're going to be tough outs when you consider you're throwing against a 5 and 6 hole.
Yeah. So that must mean at 1 and 2 you got a couple of guys who can get on base and can steal bases.
Yeah, I feel very comfortable with our 1 and 2 with Snyder, and Drayton's going to assume that 2-hole role. I think he's a guy that can handle the bat. He's a very knowledgeable kid, and he will be a great 2-hole asset for us, I believe. And we also go down the lineup with, Cheatwood and Lairson and Austin at times, and Parker Holland will be a big contributor. There's not a lot of holes in our lineup, which I felt hurt us at times last year.
Right.
I thought we were somewhat weak at times in the leadoff spot, not getting on. Sometimes, we were quick 1-2, and then Morrow was up with nobody to hit in. So I feel like 1 through 9, we are a much more balanced lineup with guys that are going to scrap together at bats. And ultimately, when you scrap with at bats, you're going to drive up a pitcher's pitch count.
Sure.
And I think that's going to be our motto a lot this year. How fast can we get that guy out of the game and get to the next guy?
We've looked at the schedule, and by the way, that NCC portion is a little bit different this year, isn't it?
Yes, we will play our half of the conference for seedings out for the NCC tournament, which we'll play over at Grand Park, which is a beautiful facility. And I really like that setup and the fact it's going to get us ready for tournament play.
Sure. You don't have, I think you mentioned this to me during basketball, you get into the conference season pretty quick.
We do. We open April 11th with our first conference game at Marion. But we've tried to get some games early. I think we have 5 games scheduled before we open, which will give us enough time to kind of see where we're at, what we need to fix and work on, and hopefully go into the Marion game with some confidence.
Doesn't seem like a lot, though, huh? 5 games.
It's not, but that's the way high school is. If you really break it down, you have March to prepare yourself for April to prepare yourself getting into conference, and then really preparing for tournament play.
Yeah, it's there before you know it. All right, before I let you go, if at the end of the year, and I know that there's certain expectations that you put on yourself, and I'm sure there's expectations you put on this team. You went over 20 games last year. You didn't quite finish the job that you'd hoped. Is there anything that you would say this was a disappointment if we don't do this year with this returning group?
With our personnel and how I foresee this team, it's hard. Disappointments can go in different directions. It depends on how you look at your success as a program.
Right.
The first and foremost is these guys are doing well in school and they're eligible to be on this team. So that's most important is their grades. We have a lot of guys that are going to go on to college next year. Mm-hmm. And we have, a handful of guys that are being recruited to go on and be student athletes.
Yeah.
So if you look at success as your program, I feel like we're headed in the direction that we're having success here very quickly with guys getting projected and getting better at the game of baseball. Yeah. So if you set that aside from your actual season and how you should do, a lot is based upon chemistry and how well these guys gel. For me to say I'd be disappointed if we didn't win 20 games, it depends on the 20 games.
Right.
And ultimately your regular season is to get you ready for tournament play. Once tournament play starts, that's everything else is out the window.
Yeah.
So, whether we go 500 or lose every game or win every game, I think ultimately if we continue to get better as a ball club, then I foresee us having success in the tournament.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, as a program and Richmond High School, that's where we would base our success on. And I would be disappointed if we didn't give ourselves to make a deep run in the tournament.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun year, and certainly make sure you check out our schedule right here in Red Devil Mania, and you can find out when all the games are. We'll begin our broadcasting schedule on Tuesday night when Richmond takes on Hagerstown, and then back Saturday. And again, there's a game time change on those 2 games. Instead of noon and 2, it'll be 10 and noon against Franklin County. And we look forward to working with you all year, Coach. It's going to be a fun year.
Thank you.
Red Devils baseball again all season long right here on RadioTroy.com.